January, Leslie, is that correct? The new ones?
Yes, new extension board terms will start January 1st.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to our new ones. And I guess with that, I'm going to go ahead then and throw it off here to Steve. Steve, I'll introduce him real quick. We've got a guest speaker for y'all today, and his name is Steve Yoder. He served as a regional educator in community development with Purdue Extension for the past 6 years, where he specializes in educational programming related to facilitation, nonprofit development, grant writing, and natural resource planning. Prior to his service with Purdue, he worked at the Arboretum at Flagstaff, Arizona, where he served as its executive director. Steve enjoys how his work as a community development educator provides people with the tools, skills, and information they need to make better decisions regarding the future of their communities. So looks like he's going to bring a lot to the table, and we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say for us. So Steve, I will let you take off, my friend.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I was actually just down in Lawrence County, about 2 weeks ago. Enjoyed visiting Spring Mill State Park with my family. We hiked down to Donaldson Caves. So I just wanted to start off by saying you guys live in a beautiful part of the state. Such a beautiful time of year, too, to be down there. So I'm going to start off right off the bat here with a poll question for all of you. We're going to, Leslie set up a poll question using the Zoom poll feature. And the question that's going to pop up on your screen is this. Can you see it? How challenging has it been to engage with others during this pandemic? Okay. How hard do you think it's been to engage with others during this time? Getting a bit of a mixture here. We've got about 19, I think, so far, out of the 29 that are online. And as that's counting, I'm gonna share my screen here. So it looks like about, around 2/3 say that it's been somewhat challenging to engage with others during this time of the pandemic. Then the less have said very challenging, and then the lowest percentage of folks who have answered said that it's not any more challenging than normal. So clearly from the poll, there has been some challenges that we're facing engaging with others during this time. And today I wanted to share with you how the community development program area, which is part of Extension, helps organizations across the state increase their levels of engagement with others, whether it's their stakeholders, whether it's their volunteers, whether it's their employees, whether it's their board members, whoever they work with. Organizations have been challenged by this pandemic in remaining engaged with these folks. And so in particular, I want to spend just a few minutes here giving you some tips from our program area, from the community development program area, on how to keep your organization engaged, not only during this time of the pandemic, but also really any time going forward. And are you seeing my shared screen yet? I'm going to go ahead and, okay, you're seeing that, the keeping engaged during a pandemic. All right. So I want to start off, before we jump into all those tips, I want to ask you, what do you think about when you hear this word engagement? What does that word mean to you these days, engagement? If you could type in the chat your definition, maybe one word, maybe a phrase, what does engagement mean to you? Particularly not when we're talking about the engagement that includes a ring there, but engagement in that broader sense. So Amy, for example, is saying interaction. Nikki's saying connection. I'm hearing communication, another interaction, touching base, learning with others, communication again from Joe. Participation, getting married. Okay, I involved hopefully all of that. Gaining the attention of others. Yeah. All right, so it's, by the way, if you think you've been sharing, okay, involved, if you think you've been hearing this word more recently than normal, you're not mistaken. I want to share with you a little graph up here. Google Analytics tracks the uses of words over time in the English language, and the word engagement over the past few years has been really taking off. This would be considered a buzzword with this recent upshoot in usage. So I'm hearing things like, staying involved, participating, communicating, being connected, all things, right, that the pandemic is making it harder to do these days. So it's one thing to understand what this word means, but it's another thing to actually make it happen. And so how do you actually keep it going? We're going to talk about that today. As Michelle said when she introduced me, I'm a regional educator in community development for Purdue Extension. So that means I travel throughout Indiana, facilitating meetings and workshops that encourage participants to provide feedback so that community leaders can make decisions, really informed decisions on issues that impact their communities. Here's a picture of me taken about a year ago down in Gibson County when I was facilitating a public workshop asking for public input about a watershed management plan. So we were down there trying to get input from the community. We're trying to engage with the community to find out what they were feeling about the Patoka River watershed. In addition to actually putting on these public workshops, as a community development educator, I also participate in trainings that go directly to community leaders to teach them how they themselves can do what you're seeing that I'm doing on the screen, so that they can learn how to better facilitate meetings that result in higher levels of public engagement. And so I'm going to give you a taste today about what it's like to participate in one of our community development programs. But first, a little bit of a backstory here. Because I know we have folks from all over Lawrence County. A lot of you, as I saw you logging in or typing in the chat, you're affiliated with different organizations in the community. A little bit about what we do. Our mission is to deliver practical research-based information that transforms lives and livelihoods. This is what we do at Extension. The practical part is that we need to take the theory that gets developed at places like where I am at the Ivory Tower here up in West Lafayette, and our job is to make that available to ordinary folks for real life situations. The research-based part of our mission is that whatever we do has to be backed up by research. And the transformative part of what you're seeing up there means that whatever we do needs to move the needle forward in our communities. It needs to transform our communities. And so we do that through 4 program areas that I'm putting up on the screen here. We have 4-H youth development, ag and natural resources, health and human sciences, and community development. And most of you on this Zoom call right now are probably familiar with 4-H, and you may be familiar with ag and natural resources and health and human sciences as what we do at Purdue University. You may not be as familiar with the 4th program area, which I represent, community development. And that's because we don't have as many of us out there. As opposed to the rest of those 3 program areas, community development only has 18 educators scattered throughout the state. So in fact, we do not currently have a position in Lawrence County for community development. But down in Daviess County, for example, they do have a community development educator position. So we're kind of more widely scattered and we're not as well known. But if you want to bring a program that's from community development to Lawrence County, I'm going to talk to you later about how you can do that. So what exactly is community development? Well, our mission states that our job is to strengthen the capacity of local leaders, residents, and organizations to build strong, vibrant communities by using research-based resources to guide their decisions. And I highlighted to guide their decisions because when we come to a community with one of our community development programs, our job is not to make decisions for a community on what's best for that community. Our job is to basically provide resources through training, through facilitation to help them make the best decisions for their communities. So another way to think of this is that extension provides the process and the community provides the content. Okay, we set up a process for decision making. The community, they're the ones, you're the locals, you make the decisions, you provide the content. So I want to focus a bit on this process, which is also known as facilitation, and how you can use it to better engage your shareholders, your volunteers, your staff, your boards, your committees. I'm going to start with a question, another question, and that is, how many of you have ever participated in a meeting that you feel could have been a bit more engaging? And I'm going to have you use another tool. How many of you have used the Zoom reaction tool? If you go to Zoom and you scroll to the bottom of Zoom, there's a little emoji face that says reaction. Are you guys seeing that? If you click on that, there's a thumbs up as one of the choices. If you could give me a thumbs up if you have been to a meeting that could have been a bit more engaging, we're going to practice using that today. Okay, so most folks here have been to meetings, and by the way, you cannot count this meeting, whether it's engaging or not, all right? So just all the other ones up until now. I see most of us have been to meetings that weren't that engaging. Oh, thank you for the laughter there. But yeah, please feel free to use these emojis throughout the rest of our time here. So I ask this question a lot, and it's usually a no-brainer. Just about all of us have experienced less than engaging meetings. So we're here to help fix that. One of Extension's community development programs that really helps leaders become better at engaging with others is called the Facilitative Leadership Program. And this is a 3-day workshop for individuals who want to strengthen the skills and the confidence needed to lead more productive and engaging meetings. I'm curious, has anybody here on the call ever gone through that program or known somebody to go through the Facilitative Leadership Program? Okay, so of course some of you in Extension have. Well, I'm going to just give you a little bit of, oh, Karen did, it was great. Thanks, Karen. Karen, can you type in for me what affiliation you have? I didn't catch it earlier. I'm just curious, Karen, where you work, if you want to type that in. Okay, well, maybe we'll catch that later. I'm just curious what she represents. Oh, IU Health. Okay, great. And there were some from DNR as well. Yeah, so I love this program. It really gets you the tools necessary to hold these more engaging meetings. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we do. In this meeting, we teach participants how to do basically 4 things. Plan a results-oriented agenda, okay? Draw out the quieter voices in the room. How many of you have been in meetings where only like 3 people talk out of 15 and you wish that the others said something? We teach you tips on how to do that. Encourage more creative ideas on creative ways to generate ideas and how to make more effective decisions as a group. So those are really the top 4 things that we do with this Facilitative Leadership Program. And I want to show you what it's like to participate in the program by having you join in right now a brainstorming activity that's straight out of the workshop. Okay, so I'm going to have you think about the answer to this question in the next few minutes. The question is, what can organizations do to keep staff and volunteers engaged while connecting during the pandemic is difficult? And while you're thinking of this, I myself have 3 goals in mind for this activity. The first is I want to hear your great ideas about how to stay engaged during a pandemic. Second, I want to show you a unique way to use Zoom in a meeting. And third, I want to demonstrate a simple way to facilitate a meeting, either online or not, to make it a bit more engaging. Okay? So first, what I want you to do is grab a piece of paper nearby and a pen. Okay, grab a piece of paper and a pen. I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. And then what I want you to do is silently on your own, obviously, jot down several ideas on how organizations can keep staff and volunteers engaged during this pandemic. Jot down a few ideas. How can you keep folks engaged? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to jot down your ideas. Give you about 30 more seconds to wrap up your thoughts about how to keep folks engaged during this time. Now what I want you to do is take a look at the list of ideas that you've generated and circle your favorite idea. Circle what you think is the best way to keep people engaged during this time. Okay. Now we're going to go on to step 2 of this brainstorming activity, and I'm going to give some instructions. And when I'm done with the instructions, Leslie will follow through on what we need to do next. So in a few minutes, she's going to divide you up into groups of 5 and send you out into smaller groups using the Zoom breakout room feature. How many of you, I'm curious, have used Zoom breakout rooms before? You can give me the virtual thumbs up if you want. How many have used the breakout rooms? Okay, and I'm gonna enlarge this so I can see this. Nice. It looks like maybe a little more than half of you have. So hopefully we're gonna randomly divide us up here into groups of 5. Hopefully each group's gonna have one person that has had some experience, but if not, it's pretty simple. We wanted to share with you this feature of Zoom. So here's what's going to happen. In a few minutes, you're going to be given a prompt on your screen, and the prompt is going to ask you to allow yourself to join the breakout room. When you see that, click on the thing that says join the breakout room, and then you'll be in a room with 4 other people. I'm going to give each room 4 minutes for the 5 people in that room to share their favorite idea with the rest of the room. Okay, so as a group, the 5 of you have 4 minutes total to share your ideas with each other. And you can chat a little bit if you have time about why you think this is the best idea that you came up with. After 4 minutes, then I'm going to send out a little, actually Leslie's going to send out a message that says, okay, stop talking, and now I want the group to select the top idea that they've shared as a group, one idea from all 5 of you, and designate somebody from your group to share that back with the larger group when we return in 2 more minutes to the big room, okay? So 4 minutes sharing your ideas, 2 minutes as a group picking the best idea that was shared amongst the 5 of you. And then we'll bring you back after a total of about 6 minutes. Okay, any questions before we do that? Okay, so Leslie, if you are ready, we can go ahead. All right, my goodness, everybody just showed up at once. That's never happened to me before. It usually trickles in. So we didn't lose anybody to the cybersphere, right? I think we're all back. And can you all see my Word document on the screen that I'm sharing? No. Okay, I will reshare. How about now? Yes, okay. So great. Well, while you were all busily discussing your top ideas on how to keep staff and volunteers and anybody engaged during this time, create a little bit of a flip chart here that I wanted to capture all your great ideas on. So I thought what we would do is just go around and have each group have their spokesperson share with the rest of us what their top idea was. And I was going to go ahead and type it in summary here on the sheet. And I don't have any names, so I don't know who is in the group. So if just one spokesperson can start, we'll just kind of go through the group here. So who'd like to start?
I can go ahead and start for my group.
Okay,
if that's all right.
Sure.
I think that the one we voted on was we called fun staff activities. So what we would do was create games, contests that at the end of the week, there was some kind of, you'd get together and there was some kind of reward. So there was it was like an incentive, something to look forward to when we got together. And it was nothing serious or work related. It was something more silly and just to lighten the mood or lighten the feeling, so that it wasn't just all business, but you could laugh and talk about what you did through the week too, outside of the work sphere.
Certainly. Great. Well, thank you for that. How about another group? What was your idea? Yeah.
Our group, we had several ideas, but one that really stuck out was having lunch with your coworkers while on Zoom together, and just having time to chat with one another. It was mentioned how we're missing that connection with one another, being able to just chat about life in general and not just work stuff. So having that time to during lunch.
Great, thank you. How about another group?
Okay, Barry Juskowicz here. I think I was with group 2, but we were along the same path. We were discussing either starting the week with kind of a coffee roundtable conversation or ending the week with a food Friday, and just basically connecting on that social level to give each other support and show empathy and personal connection outside the workplace, where you can kind of chit chat and communicate on the side, not just about progress of projects we're working on, but on more of a humane level, if you will, human touch.
And Barry, was that using Zoom?
We didn't get into the specifics of that. Of course, if we could do it, I'm now speaking for the group or outside of for the group, but I would think that if it could be done, if at all possible, weather permitting, outside, social, the more interaction that you could have, physical interaction you could have during this time, that would be great. But at the very least, obviously, Zoom and last case scenario might be just via phone.
Okay, great, thanks Barry. Another thought.
My group, we talked about needing to feel valued and heard, and so that could be done through using the chat box, because it's difficult to communicate sometimes on the Zoom meetings. Also, at the very last second, I heard something about doing team exercises, and my suggestion to the group was maybe doing outside meetings either on Zoom, or actually I was particularly talking about Zoom meetings while outside. But then I think what Barry was talking about would also be relevant too, is just being able to meet in person outside would be a great opportunity for connection.
Okay, so actually I'm gonna add that to this right here because it's kind of paralleling that part. Great, thanks. How about another group? Or was there another group?
There was just one more with Ashley and Evan and Brad and Jessica and Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. I have to unhook from my computer to just run my laptop. Our group had talked more about how to stay directly engaged during these meetings, very similar to what you have put us through already or engaged us with. So we had discussed making sure that when communication is difficult through different meetings like this, that you ask direct questions and ask for a direct result. Ask people to do things, and that's been something that you have definitely done so far, is asking us, you need to do this. What is your result? And that we talked about, whether it's email, direct phone calls, or any different kind of communication, that it be more direct right now while communication is difficult.
Okay, so that need to be direct is especially important, you're saying, during this time. Great. Well, I think that's it then as far as all the groups. Thank you so much for your feedback here with that and for sharing some great ideas. Hopefully those are things that those of us on the call can maybe take with us as the weeks go on. I wanted to, though, ask you a few more hopefully direct questions about this process that we just did. What are your thoughts about what we just went through together as a group? Think about it, and just remind you, I had you spend a few minutes on your own, silently thinking and writing down your thoughts. Then I had you share your thoughts with a few other people, and then we discussed all those as a group. I'd like to hear what people are thinking. You can either use the chat or you can go ahead and use your microphone. And I'm going to try and get my chat back up here again.
I'll go first. I
Amy.
apologize to my group that I was not able to join. I was called away for work purposes, but think, pair, share is what we call that in the education world. And we use it from kindergartners on up. And what we see as we work with students and young minds is that you get a much better, I'm going to say, thought through answer. They're able to construct their idea in that time. And just as Joe typed in there, and then everyone can bring something to the table rather than just from your fast thinkers or those that just like to talk.
Thanks for sharing that, Amy. And Amy's right. This is used from kindergarten on up, all the way through the facilitative leadership program with Purdue Extension. And I wanted to share this process, not only, of course, to get your great ideas like we just talked about, but to have you think about using tools like this. This is a facilitative tool. Pairing and sharing is what Amy called it, and that's what it's called. And another question I have for you regarding this is, what's an example where you think you might use a tool like this, pairing and sharing, during a meeting? When would you use a tool like this, pairing and sharing? What scenario might be going on in a meeting? What might be on the agenda? Any thoughts? When would it be helpful?
I think it's helpful when you want to get everyone's input, and especially some people who might not be willing to share their ideas readily are more apt in a pair because it's less intimidating.
Thanks for sharing that, Karen. And Annie says, yeah, kind of the same thing. When you want to gather feedback from everyone and you want to do it efficiently, as Karen said, bringing out those quieter voices. So yeah, pairing and sharing, you know, it's a basic facilitation tool. It helps you quickly brainstorm ideas. Sometimes people will say they'd love to do this next time they have to come up with a fundraiser for their group, right? You know, to get some new ideas out there from maybe the quieter people that are afraid that somebody's going to say, oh, we've done that before, right? And Joe says, when you want feedback from the group, but it's too large a group, this helps make things more efficiently. Yes. And Michaela said, the single person formulates their own idea before being influenced by others, right? You get your idea going as an individual and it's kind of going to go along its way. You're kind of forced to let that idea roll and it's going to be picked up by others. It encourages the quieter members to participate. I'm just going to stop here for a second about that bullet point. We're encouraging quieter members to participate. Oop, I just lost my bullet point. For all of us introverts in the world, and I am an introvert, even though I'm acting like Mr. Extrovert here on Zoom, I am a total introvert. If I'm in a meeting with a group of people, particularly if it's like a dozen people, I am not going to be the person that speaks up. And you may be in that same situation, or you may know others in groups that are like that. And let me break it to y'all, over 50% of the people in the world fall under the introvert category. So think about all the people on your boards, all your volunteers, all your committees. Half of them are going to be introverts, and they're probably going to appreciate something like this that gets them a chance to open up and speak out. So I'm a little biased because this tool really works for me. But usually in every group that I share this with, there's a couple of hands up that says, yes, hallelujah. You know, a chance for us introverts to really kind of better engage. Oh, and Evan is saying, I'm very surprised how engaging this has been. Thank you, Evan. Both the general meeting and the breakout rooms, direct roles rather than speaking to us. Thank you. I tried to do that. And part of it was I set up this meeting to have questions sprinkled throughout. I actually looked at my slides. I made sure every other one had a question for you guys. So, oh, and I want to mention the last thing here, helps to avoid parking lot meetings afterwards. How many of you here, give me a thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about with the parking lot meetings afterwards. Okay, we've all seen them. We've all probably been in them. You have the meeting, right? And then the real meeting happens afterwards in the parking lot. There's different reasons for those to happen, but sometimes it's because you did not have a tool like this to allow all voices to be heard during that meeting. And so then they're going to be the ones that are engaged in the parking lot afterwards. That's not always the case of what's going on. My dad always said the best meetings are made before and after the meeting, right? And that's always still going to happen, and that's fine. But sometimes if there's a dysfunctional group, they're having a lot of those meetings, and it could be that a process like this could help bring out the other voices. And what's nice about it too is that when you're all putting things up on the board, you're starting to see patterns of agreement, and it helps with buy-in, right? Several people said the whole lunch and coffee thing. Several groups said that. So you start to see where, even though we're thinking separately, we're kind of on the same page here, literally. So anyway, enough of pairing and sharing. I want to end with one more tool I just wanted to share with you that is also out there. It's called Jamboard, and it is a free tool that Google has developed. It was originally developed to help employees and companies collaborate across distance, but now a lot of groups are using it in this time to do things that similar to what we just did. Curious, virtual thumbs up if you've ever used Jamboard before. Okay, awesome. I get to share with you, and it's going to be really quick because we're running out of time. So what this is, it's a virtual flip chart, and it allows you to post your ideas using, okay, Ophelia's done this, using virtual sticky notes. And what's cool is that up to 50 people at a time can all be looking at the same Jamboard and be posting notes at the same time. So it's like everybody can throw their ideas up. And I'm going to show you this right now. I'm just going to stop talking. It's, if you pull up Chrome, it's usually the best way to get to it. Is Chrome pulling up for y'all? Okay, so if you ever wondered what these little dots are over here, these are all the Google apps that have been developed over the past few years. And if you scroll down, like Gmail will pop up. But if you scroll down far enough, you will see Jamboard. So if you click on it, it automatically appears if you have a Gmail account. These are all the Jamboard sessions that I've done for different communities throughout the state of Indiana just the past few weeks. I'll show you because I don't think they'll mind. Bartholomew County just did a needs assessment for financial literacy. So we had like 20 people all at once post sticky notes, and then they came back and they voted using these red sticky dots. And we were able to all virtually collaborate, even though we were doing it basically through Zoom. So how this works, I'm going to show you just a quick example. If you want to do it for the question that I just asked, oops, sorry guys, I practiced and I forgot to delete my practice. So this is the same question. Instead of using breakout rooms, we could have done a Jamboard. You click over here for your virtual sticky note. And so I could have said, you know what, I want to use Jamboard to collaborate. And basically you need to spell, and then you hit your save. And then it throws up a sticky note. You can drag it, you can enlarge it, you can tilt it to look cool. And then you go over here and you grab a sticky dot and you fill it in and you vote. It is really cool. People love it. And I want to go back to just to something that was said in the chat. Somebody said that they liked using the chat box. I can't remember where or who, but studies have been showing, Psychology Today just did a report on the effects of the pandemic and the use of Zoom. The introverts in the world are actually loving Zoom and the chat box because we like to write stuff down and think about it. And so they're finding actually higher levels of engagement with introverts during the pandemic because of Zoom and chat boxes. So don't overlook that tool. Okay, I think I've said enough. So if you are interested in finding out more information about the types of programming that community development can bring, particularly the facilitative leadership where you get to learn how to hold meetings like this, talk to Leslie. She can let you know more about it. She can direct you to, if you go to the community development website for Purdue Extension, there's information about all of our programming there. I'll pull it up super quick here. And but talk to Leslie and she can let you know more about bringing a program to Lawrence County. And thank you guys for staying engaged. I'll stick around if you have any questions. And I'll stop sharing too if I can figure it out here. There we go.
Thanks so much, Steve. And yeah, we have done one community development program here in Lawrence County in the last year. If you saw anything about the Beginner's Guide to Grant Writing, we were able to host that here. So I'm happy to do things like that, even though we don't have someone dedicated to that position in Lawrence County. That doesn't mean those programs can't come here and be really effective. So I'll hand it over to Michelle. If you have any questions for Steve, please feel free to drop those in the chat and we can move on with our reports.
Okay. All right. And I will maybe tell everybody Steve's email is there below his picture on the screen. So you may want to jot that down. Even if you think of questions later that maybe you want to shoot him through an email, you can do that. And then also too, we are recording this whole program today. So if you think of things you want to maybe go back and watch it again, or maybe you knew somebody who really wanted to tune in today and they just weren't available from noon to 1, let them know that they can get a hold of the extension office and get a link. I think for the next 30 days, it's available to watch, if I'm not mistaken. So that's available to you. And for the sake of time, I'm going to go on then and let our educators give their reports if you guys are all ready to roll. Looks like Ophelia is first. If you're ready, girl, you got the floor.
Thanks, Michelle. In our planning for this, we had said that we would try to keep our reports to 4 minutes each per educator. I'm going to try and beat that and really condense mine down just for the sake of time and consideration for everybody on the other end virtually. We were asked to share about one program or that we've had to pivot. That's a Purdue word right now, that in the last 7 months that we've been dealing with COVID, how we have made it available to still have learning opportunities, and then also share about upcoming programming that we've gotten and are excited about. My problem is I can never pick just one. I usually get pretty pumped up and excited about my programs that I've hosted and ones that are coming up. So in a nutshell, ones that have been pivoted over the last, again, 7 months, that number just is crazy for me to think about. But we've started a horticulture series, monthly, offering different timely topics related to season and what should be going on. And since that series started in May, we've been able to reach over 1,500 different people with a variety of topics. And I guess I was really surprised by that number when I calculated it the other day from month to month. But it's exciting that we've reached people, not just here locally in Lawrence County, which we love and we want to do, but all over Indiana and other states. And that was also the case with the Black Vulture webinar that we did in July over this predatory bird that is causing problems for a lot of our producers with calves and lambs and goats, baby kids. Our third grade Ag Day, which is something that we love annually doing in person with all of the county youth, we couldn't do that this year. So we had to really be creative and spin our wheels and come up with a virtual edition. And that just, I still get goosebumps thinking about how well that went over success-wise with those that participated and put educational videos together for our youth. Leslie and Sarah in our office were both part of that in doing videos. And then last week for a lot of our applicators that apply chemicals, whether they work for themselves as private applicators or for co-op commercial license, we attempted our first virtual program for credit recertification. And I had over 80 people at that program, not at that program, but virtually. And it was a huge, huge success. If you don't receive my A&R newsletter monthly, I just sent it out yesterday. I would be happy to add you to my list because I've got several programs coming up in the next few months that I am stoked about. There are some that are brand new topic wise that I've not offered yet in this position related to soil health and fertility, wildlife management and food plots, a forestry update with kind of a timber outlook for landowners and timber owners. These are all things topic-wise that I got feedback on from my A&R advisory board for needs here locally. So I'm excited about these topics and I'm excited for the programs that are coming up. So if anybody wants to receive my newsletter that doesn't currently, please put your email address in the chat box and I'll get you the latest and greatest here probably this afternoon. So I tried to keep it short. Who's next?
That's me. I'm
Thanks,
Amy.
Amelia.
Sorry, Michelle.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm the Community Wellness Coordinator for Lawrence County. So I seek to remove barriers for healthy food and physical activity for those with limited resources. And so one of the programs I'm going to talk about that pivoted because of COVID is the GLIC grant. And we had received a grant from GLIC Philanthropies in October of 2019. And that was meant to serve people at Cambridge Square Apartments who are food insecure and specifically seniors. So we received a $7,500 grant in October last year. And grant funds were intended to be used to fund garden building, planting, farmers market transportation and vouchers, nutrition education hosted by our nutrition education program associate JJ, and stocking of healthy foods at an on-site food pantry. But because of the shutdowns due to COVID-19, we were unable to stock the food pantry and provide the food to people on site. Furthermore, we weren't able to even purchase a lot of the food because of shortages in the grocery stores. Transportation and access to the food at the farmers market was restricted, and we were able to redeem less than $400 in our farmers market vouchers this year compared to last year, when we were able to redeem about $1,500 or a little over $1,500 in farmers market vouchers. So as a result of all the challenges we were faced with, we were nominated for and received a $10,000 COVID-19 response grant. So these additional funds are going to be used to purchase and stock an on-site food pantry, but also to provide food boxes for those people at the apartment complex. And that way we can provide fresh fruits and vegetables and dairy to people in a contactless fashion. So we did that last week. We spent almost $2,000 purchasing the fruits, vegetables, and dairy. And then some people at the apartment complex were able to package it and deliver it to the doors of those who needed it. One resident even called our office and talked to Michaela yesterday to say thank you for all the delicious veggies she received. So we pivoted that program. A second program that I've been involved with is the Healthy Foods and Movement program. And so I want to say thank you to Karen Dubois, who's on here today, for connecting with us and collaborating with us to offer this program. It was offered at Bayou Health Bedford Hospital, but actually was picked up by a few people who are in Bloomington, Indianapolis, and Carmel, who joined that as well. And so JJ and I collaborated on this program together, and it's a workplace wellness program. And so our program consisted of 4 virtual lessons with topics on heart health, diabetes prevention, weight management, and healthy meal planning. We had 56 people signed up for the program, and we ended up having 18 people go through it entirely and complete all 4 sessions. JJ and I really enjoyed this program, and we would really love to continue doing something similar for IU Health Bedford Hospital or anyone else in the community who wants to offer a workplace wellness program. And as a side, this is a completely free program that we offered from the extension to the employees at IU Health Bedford. So at this point, I'll let JJ add any additional thoughts to what we've been collaborating on and discuss her work too.
Thank you, Annie. So again, I'm JJ Goldsberry. I'm the Nutrition Education Program Advisor with Lawrence and Orange counties. And I provide direct nutrition education to youth and adults in our community. So I talked a little bit about the GLIC program and how we pivoted that. And so typically I would go on site and go into their community rooms and teach lessons to them. And so one way we changed was we tried to offer lessons either through Zoom or over the phone, realizing that many seniors are not able to or have access to Zoom. And so we did that over the phone. And by doing that over the phone, I would send them handouts and recipes and things for the lessons. And then we would make a plan to call one another. I would call them, and then we would sit and talk over the phone and go through the handouts and recipes that I had sent them. One thing that I gleaned from that time with them was able to learn more about them. So a lot of times when I'm going into their community rooms, I have a limited amount of time and I'm not able to learn much about them one-on-one. And so being able to Zoom with them or talk with them over the phone, I was able to learn a lot of information about their nutrition and physical activity habits, and plus just some personal information that they wanted to share with me. So, and that was great. So I'll have to work on figuring out how to add more of that in when I'm allowing time for that when I see them in person. And I can't wait to see some of them in person next year. Something that I'm working on currently is this time of the year, I'm always very busy in our local schools and the elementary schools, teaching CATCH, which is Coordinated Approach to Child Health. And so we're just getting started with some of our local teachers and offering that through Google Meet. So I'm very excited to see kids on the Google Meets with me, see their faces, and share catch with them. That's it for me.
Okay, Leslie, your turn.
Awesome. Thank you all. So I also dropped a note in the chat. Of course, a few minutes is never going to let us tell you all that we've done all year long. So be sure to check out our annual report on our website. The big thing that we did was transitioning the entire 4-H program from pretty much purely in person to purely virtual between March and July. So we ended up actually having 55 club and board meetings during that time period that went totally virtual. We were not experts on that at that time, but I pulled trainings together for our club leaders and had a lot of one-on-one sessions with club leaders and other volunteers, help get them up to speed and teach them these new tools. So we had amazing volunteer support that really came together to make this happen, because youth need that sense of belonging. Even whenever they're not going to school and they can't come in person, it's still vital that they have that sense of belonging. And that's what our clubs help create for them in their positive youth development. So keeping those things going was really important. We did have some clubs get creative, and we had a couple create Google Classrooms to keep those youth engaged, because we know that Zoom is not the be all end all for all of our community. Some of our kids don't have reliable internet at home. So being able to create things where they could connect on their time frame was also really important. So some of ours also took advantage of being able to bring in some national speakers. We didn't have to deal with the travel restrictions, just like today with Steve. He didn't have to travel down to us, so you can bring more expertise into your meetings and your activities. So an upcoming program that we're really excited about is the Indiana 4-H Leadership Summit. Is actually a statewide conference that we host each year. And this year, instead of everyone going to one location, we're going to have watch parties across the state. And Lawrence County has signed up to be one of those 12 watch parties across the state. So you can get statewide volunteer training right here in Lawrence County on November 21st. If you'd be interested in joining us for that, let me know and I'll be happy to get you more details. And that's all I have. Sarah.
All right. So the program that I pivoted, at the onset of the pandemic, like many other organizations, we were tasked with limiting our in-person programming. So this presented the opportunity to really try something new and implement a program that I never offered before. That program was Get Walking. So there was still a need for healthy living programming in Lawrence County. And so the Get Walking program was an easy fit. Get Walking is an email-based program. There's an email sent every week for 12 weeks to really promote physical activity through walking. It's an entirely email-based program, which was one benefit during the pandemic of having something that can be offered virtually. The messages that were sent out through emails were focused on social support, self-efficacy, and goal setting. Our program in Lawrence County operated from May to August. We had 8 participants and 128 participant contacts. This program will be implemented again in the future. So if you need some encouragement to get out and get walking, please stay tuned for an upcoming program. As for a future program I have planned, I am so excited to be offering the Empower Me to Be Clutter-Free program. It's a virtual program, so we'll be offering this through Zoom or WebEx on November 12th, 19th, and 24th from noon to 1. If you're interested in decluttering your home or office space, I would encourage you to join the program. To learn more or register, everything is online on our Facebook page as well as our county website. So get registered for that opportunity. We already have 27 participants signed up, so I am really excited to start offering that here in just a few weeks. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you guys for giving us your reports. And I do want to thank everybody for tuning in with us today. And also before we go, I want to thank our wonderful office staff. Could not do what all we do here at Purdue Extension without them. So Daisha, Tammy, and Michaela hats off to you guys for keeping everything running smooth and organized there at the office. If any of you are interested, maybe, I know it's kind of tough to come in the office, I think right now. I don't know if it's open to the public or not at the moment. Is it, Leslie? Yes or no?
Yes, we are open from 9 to 4 every day, every weekday.
Awesome. All right. Well, then I invite everybody, if you haven't been in there for a while, come in, ask questions. There's all kinds of literature in there, anything that you could think of concerning anything, gardening, health, fitness, food, whatever, all kinds of resources. So take advantage of that. And also maybe check out the website and see what you can find on there. And with that, I am going to say thank you guys. Everybody have an awesome day, and we appreciate you tuning in today. So everybody have a good day. See you later.